What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a detoured version of your opening drive, I guess we'll call it. Um, I don't even have a clever name. I try to think of one all day. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, what it boils down to is the boys and the coaches freaking did it edition of the coach and the couch potato. As always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. I am extremely sleep deprived. I was merch shopping till about 2 a.m. And on the opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. Um, proud semi type of papa, we'll call it, of two national
Yeah, man.
champion Ohio State Buckeyes. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. I got a chance to reach out to those guys, Luke and Nate, today, and it was just cool, man. Like they were just so excited, couldn't believe that they have done it. Nate who's a preferred walk on. He's a scout team kid. He made a post today, and it was pretty cool, man. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are our day to shine, and it's him smoking a cigar with his Natty Champ shirt on, because those are vital parts to the
Yep.
program, man, to have those type of kids. And then obviously with Luke, making his second career start in the national championship game, and he played very well. I mean, I'm not trying to be a complete homer, but he
No.
played, in my opinion, his best football of the season, and what a time to do it, man. So we're good, man. Also sleep deprived. The whole Slater household was up watching the game. So the girls were pretty tired, but they were excited. My middle child is obsessed with Jeremiah Smith, man. She thinks he's like the coolest kid ever. After every touchdown he scores, she folds her arms like he did against Tennessee. So yeah, exactly. That's exactly what she does, man. So it's good, man. Everything's good this way, man. They got it done. They got it done.
Yeah, you know, retribution was the theme, especially the playoff run. And like I was sitting there last night and I tweeted it out. Like, I don't have a tie to the team. Like, I didn't go to Ohio State. I wasn't even a real diehard Buckeye fan until I was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
And it just hit, man. Like it memories. Like that's what I think it's about for so many Buckeye fans. Like, you know where you were in 02. You
Yep.
know where you were in 15. You're
Yep.
gonna damn sure remember where you were at last night.
Yeah.
Uh and just no other way. Obviously we thought it was over coming out of the half. We've talked about the middle eight basically the entire time we've done this thing. And Ohio State dominated the middle
Yeah.
eight last night. But you knew Notre Dame wasn't going to give up.
No.
I think we got conservative on defense. And we'll kind of dive through it as we just walk through the game. And I think Marcus made some mistakes as a coach. I think you kind of you wanted to stick to your guns on defense, and you did. And as we'll talk about, it bit you in the ass.
Yeah.
And on the biggest play of the game, it bit you.
Yeah.
But you want to be aggressive, and that's fine and well. But we'll just right to that point. The fake punt. If you're going to go for it there, you were killing Ohio State with Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
Put the ball in his hands.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It was interesting. There was a lot of different thoughts. Rewinding back to what you were talking about, remembering where you are. I was going through that with my family last night. I remember in 02, I was watching the game with Brett Payne at his house. And I remember sitting in their living room, and big Larry Payne walks through the door after they won it, and he's screaming, "They effing did it," and I remember that. I remember 15, sitting at my in-laws' house. We had a streak with my in-laws of seeing, championships. We saw the Ohio State national championship. I watched the Cavs come back and win the championship over at their house. So we had a streak. But last night, during this entire playoffs, like, we went up to my parents and made a priority to go watch it with my family, specifically my mom and dad, obviously. My dad's 71 years old. Don't know, Lord willing, we get 20 more of these opportunities, but you just don't know, man. And so like it hit me in the middle of the game. And I said it to him like, Dad, if we win, this will be the first time you and I have watched a championship together. That's a pretty cool thing, man. Like,
Absolutely.
My love for all sports it comes from my dad, man. So to see that, I'm starting to get emotional thinking about it, but to see that, man, and that was like so cool. I gave him a big old hug, man. It was just awesome. And then, to go to the game, that first drive, man, I thought that was what a great way for Notre Dame to come out.
Absolutely.
Right. They were fully trying to embody the Michigan mindset. I'm sure that there have been conversations with people on the Michigan staff. Obviously, they've had some former coaches or coaches that were former Michigan staff with Al Washington.
Yep.
I guarantee you there was some legitimate conversations with people that are around that program. And they just came out and said, we're going to smash everything, right? Which is great. And in Ohio State, like we talked about, before the battle, they were going to be bend but don't break. They were not going to send the house. They were going to be controlled in what they did, because Riley can affect you when it comes to his legs. And when it came to the run game, guys just had to do their job with the quarterback run game. We really didn't execute at the highest level in that first drive. And for them to go on an 18-play drive that took 9 minutes, I was like, okay. All right, we gotta see how we adjust. And so what I also saw, and just like we were talking about before, Riley was getting hit, man. And when we talked about that, before the battle, he's got to feel us when he gets there. He has got to feel us every single time. 9 carries on that first drive, and he was getting popped every single time. Right. He might have got 6, 7, 8 yards, but he was feeling that when he got up. And so I didn't think that was a sustainable model. Right. It would have been different, in my opinion, if they would have come back and started going to Jeremiah Love. But Jeremiah Love had 4 carries for 3 yards. Like, he didn't do anything. And so, I think that really got in Coach Freeman's head. What do we go to? What do we go to? We have to depend on Riley's arm, and Riley's arm didn't pick up until the third quarter. Right, halfway through the third quarter. And so there was just a lot of different intricacies throughout the game that I was just enamored with. The fake punt, right? Like you were talking about, the field goal. Like, I just want to get in Coach Freeman's head and understand what he was thinking during those times. And so it wasn't easy, but the guys went out and did it, man, and they did what they had to do. And Notre Dame was a little stubborn. They said, we're going to come out and be who we are, and being who you are got you beat. I was shocked with the amount of man coverage that they ran. I knew that they would do it, but I thought I would see more zone. We didn't see that. And then when you get behind, like we talked about again on before the battle, you want Riley to beat you with his arm. And he did make some great throws, but that's not something that he's going to consistently do. And so, the Buckeyes did what they had to do, man. And it was definitely a physical game. And I wish they wouldn't have gotten conservative. But nonetheless, man, they did what they had to do to take care of it. The Notre Dame team that we knew was going to battle back.
Yeah, the Jeremiah Love thing, I don't know if he tweaked the knee or what. I mean, because at that point, you still weren't down to a point that you had to give up the run.
Yeah.
There were people who thought Ohio State should have took the ball when they won the toss, which would have been an interesting dynamic. But I think it worked out perfectly. You had all of the momentum going into halftime. You come out, Quinshawn busts off the stupid long run, and he just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
If that's Trey, it's 6, and Quinshawn got his 6 off of it. So I don't care. Obviously, like you said, the first drive of the game, Notre Dame came out and did their thing. But Ohio State comes out with a drive of their own that was 6 minutes, 11 plays, 75 yards.
Yeah.
And it culminated with the Coach Slate and Jake special. You guys called it. I mean, my phone went stupid. When that play happened, it was, oh my God, they called it again. You guys called the screen pass. You called this. And you saw at that point, you started to see Will Howard get that moxie.
Oh yeah.
And Will Howard is a very confidence-driven quarterback. I mean, all quarterbacks are, but like some guys are built to overcome adversity, and Will has shown that too. But when Will Howard comes out the gate hot, it's hard to slow him down.
Yeah, it's very hard to slow him down, and you could see in the playoffs, man, he was just playing comfortable, right? And that's what you want to see from your quarterback. I would love to know, and I was listening to I think it was Joel Klatt today. Gosh, I want to make sure I give credit to where it's due. I can't remember, but I want to know what made Ryan Day say Will Howard and Riley Leonard are the two guys that I'm going to go after. Like, what were the separating traits, that they have? I personally believe it had to be that leadership aspect. That's not a knock on CJ, Dwayne, rest in peace. The guys that have come before that, I think he needed his version of JT Barrett. I really do. And I think Will represented that. I think Riley really represented that. And that there's a reason why these were the last two teams standing. And it's because they had quarterbacks that people gravitated to and could get behind. And then obviously you add the weapons that we have around him, and you add Chip Kelly and Ryan Day scheming up things to make his life easier. You come up with the total package. The one thing I was like completely impressed with Will was how hard he ran. And you could see that Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, and that coaching staff, they were waiting for this day for him to be unleashed. I was just pulling up the box score. And he had, let me get there. I think he had 16 carries. 16 carries for 56 yards, right? Or 57 yards. That's only three and a half yards per carry, but it was an effective 16 carries. Mm-hmm. And that is the one thing that we could have done with him all season long, right? But they waited for this moment, and it was the difference maker. It was great to see Will, okay, it's not there. I'm just going to pull it down, tuck it, and get vertical and get what I can. Especially in man coverage, those opportunities open up. And so it was great to see Will play with that freedom because it was needed in this game. It kept drives going. And the guys believe in that, man. They love seeing their quarterbacks go out there and put their body on the line just to get a first down, right? And so it was awesome, man. I've got a lot of praise for Will when we get to our Buckeye leaves, man. I think he's going to go down in history, obviously, and when it comes to Buckeye quarterbacks, and I think it's very deserving. It's one of the best seasons collectively that we've had at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many people who shit on Ohio State taking Will Howard. There's no other way to put it. We don't get too vulgar around here, but there's no other way to put it. When Will Howard came, it was, because again, not to disrespect the Ohio State fan base, and we're all guilty of it. We all at times fall in love with a name.
Yeah.
And in the portal season last year, the Ohio State fan base fell in love with the name Cam Ward.
Yeah.
And Cam Ward, yes, I talk my weekly mess about Miami. Cam Ward was not the guy to lead this team to a natty. And you if you read enough through the tea leaves, and we both do a lot of Ohio State related interneting, as we'll call it. And there are certain people who you trust when things come out. And the people that I trust all basically said, it's not a fit. Yes, Cam Ward is interested in Ohio State, but Ohio State is not interested in Cam Ward.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you Ryan Day knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And the two guys he wanted were Will Howard and Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
The Leonard domino fell pretty quick. He basically entered the portal with a do not contact tag. Okay, now we're moving on to Will. And to hear Will Howard embrace the program that we love within 1 year, to come out and say, I thank God I got to be an Ohio State Buckeye, but I wish it would have been longer than a year.
Yeah.
Not only is that kid a leader, but then when you look at what he did on the field, that kid made himself some serious money this last month.
Yeah. I mean, you and I were texting Jake, Jake Burns throughout the game, and Jake has some. Listen, there's not many people I trust more than Jake when it comes to quarterback breakdowns. Jake and CJ Wessler are like the two guys that I would always go to, and Jake has a lot of great things to say about Will Howard and how he's potentially rising up draft boards. And in my opinion, as he should. He's played such good football this season. He's played a lot of football. He's experienced. He's mobile. He's a massive individual. He's got enough arm strength. He can make the quick, short, accurate, intermediate throws. He can attack the deep middle as well. Like, there are a lot of things about his game that is good. And I think Ryan Day, Coach Kelly, just really took his game to another level. And it was exactly what the Buckeyes needed. And I also think from a leadership standpoint, as in what's in that room, I think Devin Brown was impacted by Will Howard. I think Lincoln Keenholz is impacted by Will Howard. I think Julian Sayin is impacted by Will Howard. They see the blueprint on what it's going to take to be the leader of this team. This isn't a knock on CJ, Dwayne, Kyle McCord, all that stuff. Kyle McCord showed this year that he's a good quarterback. I mean, the dude threw for 8,000 yards, I feel like, right? And he worked himself into likely being an NFL draft pick eventually. I don't know what round, but he'll get drafted. He's got that type of arm talent. But we just needed something different, and he and Will Howard represented that. And so, we're all thanking God that he was a Buckeye, because without him, I don't think we get to where we got to this year. And that is one cool thing to say about, a one-year guy just fully buying into being a Buckeye and really taking this team over the top.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked culture from when we first started this pod was right when everybody was announcing they were coming back. And we talked about obviously, yes, the NIL factor, but you're doing it because of culture. And I am so over, and we've beat this horse, the $20 million. Now you got Kurt Warner, who admittedly on X said, I don't know college football, making the $20 million roster comment. You had RG3 making the $20 million roster comment. Yes, there was probably $20 million spent. But guess what? The two teams we've beaten in the last two games, not counting Notre Dame, spent more than Ohio State did. But it's the sexy thing to do to drop $20 million roster comments. But the guys they brought in out of the portal, man, Will Howard, obviously. We have spoke volumes about Seth McLaughlin. Quinshon Judkins, everybody, when he entered the portal, he's a terrible teammate. Dude, watch that kid on the sidelines. That kid is not a terrible teammate. Maybe Lane Kiffin has a terrible culture. You brought in 40 guys out the portal. I don't think that, especially after last night, there's any way Quinshon Judkins stays. But I'm going to tell you right now, I would not be shocked if he did.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's another thing where, when it comes to NIL, the Buckeyes will have the opportunity to sell him on why he should come back and to go on another run. He didn't even eclipse 200 carries this year, which is, for him, the last two seasons he's had well over 350 carries. So his total touches had come down, and it's likely going to be the same. He might get a little bit of an uptick, in the 200 to 220 range. But with James Peoples and CJ Donaldson, like, you're talking about another three-headed monster of running backs that you could have if Quinshon comes back, and he could also get paid likely more than what he would get, paid to be a third, fourth, fifth round draft pick in the NFL. Now he may go higher than that, but based on the running back position, not everybody's Saquon Barkley. So, how are they going to value that? And so I am, just like you, entirely sick of that mindset. Listen, we don't know what Notre Dame paid We don't know because they're a private school and they don't have to disclose those things.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what Miami paid because it's a private school and they don't have to disclose those things. I do know that Notre Dame paid well over $1 million for Riley Leonard to come be their quarterback. I do know that they paid for that quarterback, Sam Harton, and that luscious beard and hair. They paid well over
beautiful beard.
They paid over well over $1 million to bring him in. So to think that they're not spending money in NIL is blasphemous. They are dropping bags to get guys to come to South Bend, but they don't have to disclose those things. Ohio State as a state school, they have to disclose those things. And so that is just the difference of the difference in all of this. And we paid the money for Jack Sawyer to come back and to finish the story, for Tyleek, for JT. Like, those guys alone right there, in my opinion, are worth millions of dollars. Just those three guys on the defensive line. And you paid for them to come back. You paid for Cody Simon, probably not to transfer.
Jordan Hancock.
Jordan Hancock to come
Denzel
back.
Denzel Burke and real quick, Denzel, everybody after the Oregon game, us included, kind of had a magnifying glass moment with Denzel Burke. Going into last night, outside of the Oregon game, Denzel Burke gave up 87 yards in coverage.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts. And he didn't get a lot of the penalty calls that, your boy IGB got. Jordan Hancock, not his best night last night at times.
Yeah.
But then there were times that he made plays.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that. And spoiler alert for next season, you're going to see probably a little bit of an uptick across the board with our secondary getting called for some things because they're going to be young. But this secondary next year, y'all, is going to be BIA still.
No doubt about it.
And, obviously we're not diving into a season preview and anytime soon, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this one out there. Devin Sanchez will start next year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. I think he's that elite of a player. You look at Notre Dame playing freshman corners. I think with Ohio State, they see the impact of having a rotation in a 16-game season. I think you're going to see a rotation if IGB decides to go to the NFL, which I personally think he should. I don't know if he'll be able to increase his draft stock if he stays another year. But, if he comes back, I'm not going to be mad. I think IGB is a dog. I think you're going to see a good rotation of Devin Sanchez, Aaron Scott, and Jermaine Matthews. I think Bryce West will get in that mix. I think also Bryce West will probably be in conversation to be in the slot with Lorenzo Styles. Like, there are some things that you're going to see next year, and there's going to be some young guys with the young group is very talented. And so I'm definitely excited for the secondary next year. I think that's something that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I thought the DBs in this game played well. I mean, they did what they had to do. Listen, Riley was throwing some dimes in the second half. I mean, let's just be real. That touchdown on Jordan Hancock was a perfectly thrown
in the
ball.
Corner. Yeah. One hand. He caught it with
exactly.
one arm.
That's one thing that frustrates me to no end when it comes to fans watching the game. It's like, oh, he's got to make a play on the ball. Listen, Jordan Hancock was in the perfect position. There is no defense, and I tell my DBs this all the time. There's no defense for a perfect throw.
They actually said that last night on the game.
Yeah, there's no defense for a perfect throw. That ball was thrown exactly where it needed to be. Jordan Hancock tried to make a play on it. He got his hand on the ball. The guy just squeezed it, and he couldn't get it out. I mean, that was just a great throw, great route, just good all-around football, good defense as well. So, I thought the DBs played well last night, man. There was IGB getting handsy and things like that. Caleb Downs had a couple missed tackles. But you were talking about Denzel Burke, man. Listen, since he was a freshman, right, he came in unheralded, ended up starting, doing a lot of things. You could tell then as a freshman in the Michigan game, he's out there jawing, talking trash. Like, he was a Buckeye. Like, you knew this guy was a Buckeye. And so for him to finish his story this way, especially after having that terrible game against Oregon and really bouncing back since then, like, Denzel Burke is an NFL corner who's going to get picked in the first 3 rounds and he's going to have a long career, a la Bradley Roby, Marshawn Latimer, all these other corners that we've had come through. And so shout out to Denzel, man, for persevering. And that's just a true testament to who this team was all season long, right? You punch them in the face, you get knocked down, but they had a Buster Douglas mentality, and they were going to get up off the canvas, and they were going to keep swinging. And if I keep swinging, one of these is going to connect, and you're going to be done, right? And so that is something that I just love about this program and this team this year that makes it so special. Like, they just kept swinging, man, and they never wavered. And that's, like you said, all day, all night. It's culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on how the DBs played, and I think because it all came so quickly that it was a little more overwhelming than it really was. Looking at the Notre Dame numbers, Greathouse ended up with 6 grabs, 128, and the 2 touchdowns. That guy's better than, we hit on it on before the battle that he was their guy. But, man, he's really talented. He's not going to wow you with anything. But he's very physical. I felt like he ran pretty good routes. And he just put himself in the right spot. We let Evans have 4 grabs, 52 yards. 33 of those came on 1, though.
Yeah.
But then you get into Collins had 4 for 32. Really, it wasn't as bad as it seemed. It was just because it was an avalanche, at the time. And obviously, I'm sure you haven't really dove into the film yet, but I'm going to guess in that third quarter and the start of the fourth, the defense was very basic.
Heck yeah, man.
Nothing aggressive. And like we said, it wasn't going to be a big sack game, but the defensive line and the defense did just enough to get Riley Leonard uncomfortable. We had 2 sacks, I think. Again, not what we're used to seeing, but they did their job. You look at Notre Dame. They also had just the 2 sacks. I think the O lines both played really well for the most part. I was really worried the way the Notre Dame defense or offensive line came out. I'm like, these boys can't play, and they always have a good O line. They've had a good O line forever.
Yeah.
But as the game went on, our D line figured it out, and our guy Tyleek, there was a play where he shedded a double team and still made the play on the running back.
Yeah.
You couple that with what he did when he basically chucked the O lineman from Texas to the ground. I mean, he made that dude look like a rag doll.
Yeah.
Tyleek Williams may be the equivalent to Donovan Jackson, not to the same level as far as unsung heroes on this team.
Yeah, I agree with that. And speaking of the box score, one of the things that you really need to pay attention to in these type of games, with how Notre Dame effectively ran the ball on that first drive, right? They were super physical. Some would say they out-physicaled Ohio State. When you're going to be in that type of game, you now have to understand how important winning that rushing battle is. And there are times this year where we've had to get away from it, right? But if you pull up the stats and you're looking at them, Ohio State rushed for 214 yards. Notre Dame rushed for 53 yards. That is not how Notre Dame wanted to try to win the game. That first drive was indicative to what they wanted to do to win the game. That was their recipe. That was their formula. And that was their only path to victory. And they still only had 53 yards of rushing after a 9-minute, 18-play drive, right? So that is a phenomenal job by the defense. Riley, on that first drive did well with this in the organized, schemed up quarterback run game. But his longest rush was only 8 yards, right? Ohio State's defense did what they had to do to slow him down. They had to go to plan B And plan B, they got a couple big plays out of it, but that's not the world that they live in, right? And so I think, and I know the defense gave up 23 points. I think the defense executed their game plan to a T. A lot of these yards that they got, even the 2 of the touchdowns, were just missed tackles. I mean, that's just what it came down to, right? Just missed tackles. That one Great House touchdown, we had 3 missed tackles on that play. It's one from Caleb Downs, who's probably our most sure tackler. And so when you look at the performance, and I know 23 points, but go look at the box score, right? They had 308 yards. Riley had to do something that he had not really done all season long, and that was try to beat you with his arm. And he had some big plays, but we shut their plan A down. And when you have to live in that area of where I'm not comfortable, I don't like it in here. When you've got to live in that space, it's not a good place to be as an offensive coordinator. You're limited on what you feel like you can call, and you're banking on these big plays to really happen, right? And Buckeyes kind of let a couple of them happen, but it wasn't enough for them to overcome, what balance attack our offense had, 231 yards passing, 214 yards rushing, like just you can't scheme up anything better than that balance of an attack from our offense and what Chip Kelly and Coach Day put together, man. So, I think this was a overall pretty dominant. We did let them get back into it, but it was a pretty dominant performance, and the Buckeyes just really did what they wanted to do offensively.
Yeah, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, the game was not as close as the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Because, I think, well, right off if a Mecca doesn't get voodoo hexed by Fowler talking about how he never fumbles the ball, poof, fumble, we're scoring on that drive.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's ball game at that point. That was really what set the tone for the Notre Dame comeback.
Yep.
And I think, we were talking before we hit record that you really saw Marcus Freeman show kind of some inexperience. I've joked around, we've joked around. Every time you see these pictures before the bowl game, one coach is smiling and Ryan Day is staring lasers. And Ryan Day walking into that building last night was shooting lasers.
Yeah.
He knew what that night meant to him. And as soon as he got a chance, to get the ball, the guys came out, scored 6, got the 3 and out. Because I think it was at one point Notre Dame had the 18-play drive for 75 yards and then went 3 and out 4 straight times, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
And Ryan Day just kept the steamroll going. You could see it at halftime, like you said. Marcus Freeman looked shook.
Yeah.
You could visibly see him when a couple of things happened. The life just gets sucked out of his body.
Yeah.
So the first, to me, thing that I wanted to talk about with Marcus Freeman, the fake punt. Ohio State was in punt safe right off the bat, almost to the point they were in an actual defense. Obviously that's not my world to live in, but you could see that they were not in punt return. They were not in punt block. They were communicating like they were planning on a play. You had some kind of success with Riley Leonard. Just run it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not listen. There are times where we as coaches outcoach ourselves. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. I think that was a situation where, and to their credit, we did have it defended, but he could have caught that ball, right?
Yeah.
He definitely could have caught the ball and got the first down. I would much rather, instead of putting the ball in the hands of our backup quarterback, when we know a fake is coming when he's in the game, instead of that, I want Riley Leonard to have the ball. Ohio State had not, really slowed down their run game with the quarterback, right? It was easier for them to pick up 3, 4, 5 yards on quarterback run game with the +1 in the box. And that's what I would have just rolled with, man. Don't outcoach yourself. Just run the ball. Ohio State had a very similar thing where, we roll out on a 3rd and 2 and we have JJ wide open and Will misses him.
Yep.
I think that was a situation where, yes, you want to get the ball to your guy. Was it open? Yes. If it was a better ball, does he catch it and get the first down? Absolutely. But what else had we done the whole entire time? Will Howard, +1 in the box. Just run him. He's done a good job. He's not gotten stopped on the quarterback run game. Just go get the first down. And so there are times where you outcoach yourself. And I also think, listen, you can have the greatest game plan in the world, but when it's the national championship or a state championship or a conference championship game and you're down 24-7, okay, all that stuff goes out the window. What can I do to make sure our kids have a spark, right? When you're down big, it's like, oh man, if we don't get this could get real ugly. And so you're just trying to do something that gets the guys like locked in and focused and excited about the game again. And you saw them hit on some of those things in the second half, and the guys got excited and they climbed back into the game. And so he was trying to find that a little earlier than we would have liked, but luckily it was incomplete and it didn't affect us. And so sometimes we outcoach ourselves, man. That's just the way that it is, and it sucks. But sometimes fans hating us and being mad is warranted when we outcoach ourselves.
Yeah, and then the field goal down 16. Sabrina looked at me and she goes, "Why?" She goes, he still has to score twice. And like my eyes got this big when that comment was made. I'm like, not a knock on Sabrina, but if she gets it, it's probably not the right call. There was 9 minutes and change left. Their kicker is a stud. I'm glad it was never a close enough game to come down to him kicking, because I have total faith that he would have made it.
Yeah.
Even despite the doink. But football's weird, man. Ball don't lie is something you hear in sports, from the time you're this big.
Yeah.
The doink was the football gods punishing Marcus Freeman for going for it, or for going for the field goal. I mean, scared money doesn't make money.
Yeah.
And, again, stick with what got you there.
Yeah, that's and when you listen to him explain it, like there's a part of me that understands it. Listen, if you get the field goal there and you get another stop, now you're looking at, 2 touchdowns, not 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions wins you the game, right? Instead of 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions ties you the game. And so I get that mindset. With 9 minutes left, you still have all your timeouts. There's a good chance that we could get a stop. If we can get a stop in that 6 to 7 minute range, go down and score with our timeout still, the Buckeyes will get the ball back. Who knows what will happen once we get to that 2-minute warning? The ball will be in Riley Leonard's hands. And, there's a chance for us not just to go tie this thing, but to go win it. Like, I get that. I get that thinking. I personally would have gone for it. But, at the same time, like, they get paid millions of dollars, and it wasn't just a Marcus Freeman decision. His special teams coordinator, they have analytical guys on that staff that tell them what is the best course of action for this play. Should we go for 3? It's 4th and 3. Should we go for the first down, right? There are a lot of analytical things that go on Friday nights, Saturday nights, in this case, Monday night. And there were people in his ear telling him if it was a good idea or a bad idea. And, he's the ultimate say, and he signed off on going for the field goal. And, it's not something I would have done, but, I get his thinking. It just, good bounce for the Buckeyes, man. That's, he decided to kick it and they missed it, man. So I'm not going to complain about it.
Nope, not at all. And then, you get into the last Ohio State drive of the game, and I was ready to throw things. I thought I saw Urban Meyer on the sideline, running Will Howard like he's JT Barrett, and it wasn't working. But I have come to the conclusion, and this is probably not even anywhere near right, and I'm sure Chip Kelly will speak on it at some point in his life. did he bait them? You know, they crashed out so hard on 3rd and Jeremiah. You know, yet again another Ohio State play with a name now.
Yeah.
I mean, that corner didn't stand a chance.
No, he didn't.
Jeremiah did not put a move on him. Jeremiah gave him inside leverage because he knew he was going to go outside. And I didn't see a head bob or anything. That was just man on man. And only fitting that Notre Dame gets daggered playing man, which was the discussion for the entire week.
Yeah, and listen, there are a lot of different thoughts that went through my mind during that drive. Number one, like I get why we went to quarterback run game because we were having a lot of success with it. And, you know, you're hoping that you can chip off 4, 5, 6 yards, right? And I get why they did it. But I do think there is an aspect of this of Al Golden not having enough respect for Ryan Day to just say F it, right? What did Ryan Day do in the Michigan game? What did Chip Kelly do in the Michigan game, right? They kind of clammed up a little bit.
Yep.
And
they
just
turtle shelled.
Exactly. And so in that moment, it looks from the outside like, okay, this is another moment where they're going to say, hey, we're going to put the ball, you know, back. We're going to give the ball back to Riley Leonard, and we are going to say our defense is the best defense of the country. Go get a stop, right? And so if I am a defensive coordinator and I know this is something that isn't the first time this guy has done this, not just this year, in years past, I'm going to bet on my guys. I'm going to bet on our guys being able to hit home with this pressure. Now, I think this is where the mistake is. Travion Henderson is one of the best pass blocking running backs in the country. You watch that play, you know, Dan Orlovsky was, or Drew, or whatever his name is. It Dan or Drew?
Dan
Orlovsky. He got on Twitter and was talking about that last play and how impactful Travion Henderson was to the success of that. He obliterates a blitzing linebacker. Yeah. I mean, we coaches call it knockback. Like, his head was knocked back. Like, it was awesome to see. The pass pro was great. And Jeremiah does such a great job of stepping on the corner's toes, right? And when we say stepping on the corner's toes, that means they're closing the distance, right? We want to make sure that DB feels us getting close to his feet. And once we get close to their feet, if I'm even, I'm leaving, right? And so he did such a great job of closing down that space, really stemming them inside so Will could have as much sideline as possible to throw it up. And, you know, in that situation, this was a Ryan Day saying, F it. If we don't get it, hey, we do have the best defense in the country. But if we get this, ball game. And so great ball by Will, you know, great job by Jeremiah, you know, JJ bringing it in and securing it. And it was a great play call. There was zero hesitation. Mecca made his guy fall down on that play. And not many people saw that, but he cooked his DB, right? Carnell was open up top. So they were open all across the board, but you give that dude, JJ, that much space, I'm going to bet on him every single time, man. And so that was a great play call, great execution, and, you know, closed out the game, man. And that was fun. That was fun to see. And once I saw the alignment, I was like, okay, I think if I'm them, I'm just chucking it up. I'm chucking it up.
Lo and behold, there it was.
Yeah. If it gets picked, okay, they're down inside the 20 and they got, you know, X amount of minutes, 2 minutes to go down and drive down the entire field, score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion, right? And so, listen, man, that was fun. The whole Slater household went ballistic when that happened, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. I plan on spending the rest of my evening when we're done trying to find. There's a black and white of it.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying to find in high resolution. So that's on the agenda. Yeah, and then, you know, obviously Jaden Fielding hits the field goal, makes an 11-point ball game. And the Bullets bring it home.
Yeah, man.
It's surreal. I mean, you know, we talked going into the playoffs about, you know, we didn't want to compare losing to Michigan to a tragedy like the 15 team had. But when you galvanize a team, let alone a talented team, there's only one thing to do, and that's to just finish the story. And, it was only fitting to see, those guys afterwards, man, and to see the emotion, not only with the players, but the staff and Ryan Day. And I'm going to give props to Kirk Herbstreit.
Oh yeah.
To finally be kind of transparent about his feelings and his emotions. And Herbie got choked up. I think there's a lot of things that Herbie can do better when it comes to Ohio State in the media, on social media, when he's doing games. I'm not forgiving you yet, Herbie, but kudos to you for being man enough to show some emotion and be transparent. Sam H.O., clown, but again, man enough to come out and say, Will Howard, I was wrong. Ryan Day, I was wrong. Malik Zaire, you're still a bum, and didn't, it was just hilarious to watch him again. But, just the emotions that go with this on all sides.
Yeah, man.
I know that was one thing you wanted to dive into was the Coach Day stuff.
Yeah, man. There's a lot that goes into being a coach at that level. My experience is obviously, I only coached in college for 2 years. Like, my experience is on a much, more micro, smaller level, but the emotion that Nina Day, Coach Day's wife, had is something that hits very close to home with me. It makes me think about, my wife being up in the stands during all those hard times. And then, the relief that she has when we had a big win against Pleasant, in 2019. Right. Those are things that I think about, man. It doesn't just impact the coach. It impacts the entire family. I mean, honestly, I'll be completely transparent. That's one of the reasons why I haven't decided to come back to coach in Marion, because I don't want my kids to go to school and say, hey, your dad sucks as a coach. I don't ever want my kids to have to experience that. And Ryan Day's kids experience that.
Yes.
Right. And I know people think like, well, Coach Slady, it's high school football, things like that. Like, no, it doesn't matter what level it is. There are people out there that will try to make your life a living hell. And some people, so you and I know some of those people, and they will try to make your life a living hell. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's what some of these Buckeye fans and these media people talking about Coach Day being fired and all those things. You and I both know that RJ Day did not go to school for weeks after the Michigan game.
Yep.
That is confirmed. That is something that has been discussed.
And Ryan finally confirmed that. We kind of, we hinted at it, but we never really threw it out there because it's not our place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, RJ and, and Nina Day has told people, I don't feel safe at times. Like that's sad, man.
It's sad. And so people could say, oh, well, he's getting paid $10 million. He's got to have thicker skin. You could say all those things. There's no price to pay for your family feeling safe. There's no price that will ever, compare to your mental health and your kids' mental health. Like those things matter. And so for me, this was complete vindication for Coach Day. So do we still have a Michigan problem? Yes, we do. And hopefully we get that fixed. But the way that this unfolded, it takes a special kind of leader to humble themselves and to bounce back and go on this run, right? One of the examples I want to give is when I was at Findlay in 2021, my first year, I just left Harding, get back into coaching, go up to Findlay High School. I worked for Stephen Adams. If you've listened to this podcast, you know how much I love my guy, Stephen, the head coach at Findlay High School, phenomenal individual, one of the best coaches I know. And him and Ryan Day are very similar, right? They truly just care about the player and the player only, right? They can block out the noise to do a phenomenal job. We had a very talented team, and we start the season 2-3, and the players frustrated, community frustrated, coaching staff frustrated, and it was just going to come to a head, right? You could just feel it, the tension at practice. You could just feel it. And we had a knockdown, drag out, heart to heart, not just with the coaching staff, but with the players. We opened up the doors for communication, and the players just laid it all out there. These seniors who had just won and been successful just laid it all out there. Luke, Nate, these guys just laid it all out there. And it takes a special individual to be able to take this criticism from your guys, the guys that picked you and wanted you to be their head coach, to take that on the chin. And Stephen came into that meeting on Sunday and said, this is what we're doing. These are the changes. We are not going to lose another game in this regular season, and we are going to go make a run in the playoffs. And that Monday, things changed, and you could feel it and you could see it. We ended up winning 5 straight. We battled for a conference championship, and we go to the third round of the playoffs and get beat, 12-0 in a 4-quarter battle against Springfield, Ohio. And Springfield ended up being in a state championship that year. But we don't have that success if we don't have people who are willing to humble themselves, right? That's what Ryan Day had to do. And Ryan Day, you hear this entire week talking about, now they get to tell their story. They get to tell this story because all of them laid down and humbled themselves for each other. Ryan Day is a very good coach, a phenomenal coach. It is not an easy thing to sit in a meeting with players who came and chose you as their head coach, tell you, you clammed up in the Michigan game. Why did we do this? How did we lose this game? Why weren't you more vocal after the game? Why didn't you stop them from planting the flag? Why didn't you do all these things? It is not an easy thing to do. But we are fortunate to have a head coach that took it on the chin and applied that to the next 6 weeks of the season, right? 5 weeks of the season, and it culminated in a national championship. So for all the people out there who think Coach Day is soft, for all the people that think that this dude cannot overcome anything, shut up. He can. He's had to battle through his dad, right? With dad taking his life. And I believe
it was the anniversary.
It was the anniversary. Imagine that, right? Imagine that. And so it is not an easy place to be as a coach, as a family. But when you are willing to humble yourself before your players, before your coaches, before Buckeye Nation, and say, I messed up, I effed up, I clammed up, this is what we're going to do. That's the true mark of a great coach, in my opinion. It's easy to be the dog when you're winning national championships every year. That's easy. But what's going to happen when you're in the muck, right?
Yep.
When you're in the muck and you're trying to scratch and claw, when you're in that foxhole, I'm going to grab as many people as I can that will be getting that foxhole with me. And that's exactly what happened. And I think it's the exact reason why we won a national championship. And so I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that again, man. I really don't. To beat the teams that we beat, to say Coach Day can't win the big game, and then he beat 6 of the top 11 teams in the country this season, and it ended with the national championship. I want some Buckeye fans to sit down, humbly submit themselves, and go back to just being an actual Buckeye fan instead of being a freaking lunatic and calling for people's jobs and making people feel unsafe. That is something that I hope we can get back to, being just true badass locked in fans who think the Buckeyes, it's Ohio against the world, and that's our mindset. Not, hey, we suck because we can't beat Michigan. Ryan Day should go and we should never see him on the face of the earth again. It's just so stupid. So that's my little diatribe, man. It is a tough place to be as a coach, but vindication, man, that is something that I can't, it puts a smile on my face to see him happy with his family, to see Nina relieved, right?
Yeah.
That's just that is such a powerful thing, man.
You want to see where Ryan Day's head's at. I think we're about to see the epitome of F around and find out. The Death Star has been activated. Go look at Ryan Day's Twitter feed and look at the tweet from CJ Barnett that he retweeted. I'm not going to tell you what it says because I want you to go find it yourself, and I want your jaw to hit the floor. Because for the head coach of a university the size of Ohio State to retweet that tweet, y'all done messed up and woke the animal up. I think you're going to see. Had you not seen it?
I had not seen it, man. And when you sent it to me, I was like, "Oh, buddy."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've awoken the beast. I think you are going to see an insane recruiting role off of this. Guys who I think we're going to play the long game. I think you're going to see some guys pop. Ideally 2 Ohio kids sooner than later, I think. 2 massive gets. I think you're going to see them really look at this roster. And obviously this will be the stuff we dive into, now that season's over. There's been moving parts today that we'll talk about, when we record next week. Guys going in the portal, guys to make commitments, coaching staff rumors, that type of stuff. But I think you are positioning, Ohio State is positioned for an Alabama Saban type run. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. There's something to be said when you can put on the field product with the good things that we've always said about Ryan Day, and these recruits are buzzing. So yeah, I mean, let's hand out some stickers. I will do the leaves first, and then I'll let you do the bullets first.
Okay. All right.
There's a couple easy picks for Buckeye leaves, so I'm not going to do Jeremiah. I'm not going to do a Mecca. And I'm not going to do Will, because I think Quinshon Judkins got hosed out of the MVP.
I do too.
So I'm going to give one to Quinshon Judkins. This dude, you talked about guys humbling themselves. Quinshon Judkins humbled himself by coming to Ohio State. You were an all SEC back. You were highly touted, and you come split carries with Travion, and you balled out in the biggest game of your life.
Yeah, man.
Jaden Fielding. This dude, man, everybody's like, oh my God, we got to go to the portal. And we thought we needed to go to the portal.
Heck yeah, we did.
But it clicked. Something clicked.
Yeah.
You want to talk about culture. Look at the guys when Jaden Fielding hit that clinching field goal. It wasn't the special teams guys that were out there. The starters were out there, offense, defense. It didn't matter. They were letting Jaden Fielding know, you had us, you're part of the team.
Yeah, man.
And then a guy who I think we're going to I think one of the things we might do on the next episode is do some season awards. A guy who I'm not so sure is not going to be my MVP, Donovan freaking Jackson.
Yeah.
I think this is the guy Jack Sawyer was talking about. After Ryan Day basically came out and said Donovan had decided to leave. And you come back, you are an all-world guard. Oh, we're going to move you to tackle. And you're not the stereotype of a tackle. Your body's not the right mold. and you can give up a sack.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, man.
So shout out D Jackson, man.
Yeah. That's big, man. That's big. You know, obviously there's a lot of people you could give Buckeye leaves to, but I think everybody knows where I'm going to start.
As you should. As you should. I couldn't take it from you.
Yeah, everybody knows where I'm going to start. It's our guy, Luke Montgomery. He played his best game in the national championship. He was physical. He was great in pass pro. He was very effective in the blockings in the run game. The guy just played well. The energy that he brings on the field is contagious. You could see after that first touchdown, he's talking mess into the camera. Like that is something. And I think that's one of the reasons that's really set him apart now over these last few weeks above Tegra and Saraveld is that fire, that want to, that hungriness. Like guys like him and Josh Padilla and Carson Hinsman, they have that. And so I think you got to keep those type of guys on the field. So first Buckeye leaf goes to our guy, Luke. Proud of you, man. You know, was able to share some text with you today, and it was just super cool, man. So shout out to you. That was a big win. Happy for you and Nate for sure. My second Buckeye leaf, I'm not going to run away from this one, even though he fumbled. Emeka, you know, career receiving leader, you know, I believe just in receptions. I don't know if he got it for yards.
I don't think he got the yards.
But Mecca, what a great career you've had, man. You've done all these things and you've never been the number one receiver. And that is something that is completely mind blowing. One other fact that I wanted to throw out there before we ended the show today, Quinshad Judkins, 1,000 yards rushing. Travion Henderson, 1,000 yards rushing. Jeremiah Smith, 1,000 yards receiving. Emeka Ibuka, 1,000 yards receiving. I don't know if you'll ever see that again. I know they played 16 games. Well, that's what an NFL season is. All right. And if you do those things on an NFL team, you're getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. And so shout out to those guys. Shout out to Chip Kelly and Coach Dave for getting them ready to go. So yeah, those are going to be my two offensive Buckeye leaves that I wanted to give out.
Yeah. I couldn't take Luke from you.
Yeah.
Even if I am still going to beat him up and take some of his gear because they got hooked up.
Yeah, they did.
You know, like I said, I just, you're right. The fire that kid plays with me. And what I love to see is, you know, I haven't got to meet Luke yet. I'm sure that'll happen at some point in the next couple of years. But to see him getting the love from Herbie, Fowler, Joel Klatt, the media, you know, everybody that's watched him play, like, it's awesome. You know, like, you know, I'm happy for you when that stuff happens. So yeah, on to the bullets. Let's hear them.
All right. So silver bullet wise, yeah, I'm gonna give out two. And this is more of a season thing. I don't think. Actually, I'm gonna give out three. All right. So the first one, Cody Simon. Listen. I knew Cody Simon was going to be a good player for us this year. I did not expect him to take the leap that he took this year.
He made himself some money.
And he played well, had 8 tackles in the game, was flying around, did what he had to do. Did have a couple missed tackles. But Cody Simon gets my first one. My second one goes to Denzel Burke. I thought Denzel Burke played very solid. You know, he was steady Eddie since that Oregon game, and I think, you know, he's just a really good player, and I was just glad to see him not really give up any big plays. I thought he just played really well yesterday. And then my last one, and I hope we get this guy to come back for his senior year, Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles is a special player. He is a dog. I was skeptical about his move to linebacker at the beginning of the season because it is a big change, right? You're going from back on the hash to closer to the box. Like it can be difficult. But man, this dude, he ended the season with over 100 tackles. You know, had a big sack in this game, perfect delay blitz. And I think he's such a vital piece to this. I hope we can, you know, entice him to come back for his senior year because I think we need that. But man, you know, those are my 3 silver bullets that I wanted to give out and recognize those guys with, man, because defense isn't what it is without those 3.
Yeah. I mean, as far as in that game last night, you know, I don't think anybody like played oh my god out of their head, because in that game it was all about playing within the system.
Yep.
Because you were doing a job. So I'm gonna go Tyleek Williams. I think there were some plays that Tyleek blew up. You know, I think given that he tweaked the ankle again, you know, he's the emotional leader. We'll give JTT one. But then, you know, we talked about retribution being the theme and redemption for this playoff run. Georgia, Lathan Ransom falls down, gets burnt, and then this dude comes back into that building, does what he does. Enforcer lays the lumber, brings the energy, and is a vital part to a natty.
Yeah.
You know, that dude is I don't think people realize how good he is.
He's so good.
He was an unheralded recruit. I believe he played with Jack Miller, or there was because I think he's an Arizona guy.
He did, yeah. He is an Arizona guy.
So you know that's not a real hotbed, but now we've got a couple guys from out there.
Denzel Burke's an Arizona guy too.
Miles Lockhart, I think, is an Arizona guy. So yeah, those are my three there, and just in closing, you know, we kind of pumped up this season was going to be special, and it turned out to be special. In the final AP poll, Ohio State, in the last 3 weeks alone, has beat number 2, number 3, and number 4. Beat number 5, beat number 9, beat number 10.
Crazy.
All by double well, no. The 2, 3, and 4, and 5. No, Penn State wasn't a double digit.
No.
But 2, 3, and 4 were all double digits. Think of it.
Yeah.
And
it's insane, man.
Brands, you know, Texas, Oregon, Notre Dame. And here's the other wild thing to end that on. We start the season with Texas, and Ohio State is currently favored by 4.5 points.
Yeah, it's crazy.
With an unknown at quarterback, and Texas is going to roll in here with Arch.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome. You know, now we'll slow down a little bit. You know, obviously as things happen, but you know, we'll still get to you guys weekly. You know, shout out for all the support. I have not gone through the score predictions yet to get us a winner for the Natty. Those were fun though. I think it got a lot of people involved. And obviously shout out to our sponsors, The Barn and Cornerstone Home Remodeling. Shout out to our families for letting us do this thing. You know, shout out to my guy Slate for always bringing the football IQ and the intelligence. And that's all I got for a holy hell they did it edition.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. I was talking to my brother about this. He texted me today and was like, when are you guys recording? Like, why didn't you guys go live last night?
Dude, I got that same text from somebody.
Why didn't you guys go live last night? I'm like, listen, man, with 3 kids, like it just wasn't happening last night. But yeah, man, it's been fun, man. This has been great. What a great year to start a podcast. You know, subscribers and views jumped up in the last, you know, month, which is good, which is a testament to, you know, what I believe is a good product that we're putting out. I'm glad I'm on this journey with you, man. It's fun. Hopefully we can get this thing to blow up to where you and I can just do this full time and we don't have to work anymore. How nice would that be, man?
Dude, it'd be crazy.
Yeah. But this is great, man. It's fun, man. It's been a good time. And, you know, the off season's always a fun time as well. We get back to doing some Mount Rushmore stuff and that's going to be fun, man. So I'm excited for what we have to come. And I'm glad we're ending the 2024-2025 football season with the freaking national championship. It's just still crazy to think about.
It's nuts, man. who would have ever thought it? But we both did pick the Buckeyes to win it at the start of the year.
We did.
So it's rewarding. Like we said, we love this team. We love this program. We're going to try to, we're going to do some different stuff. And I'm going to put the prize out tomorrow for our score prediction winner. It's bigger than a little card care package since it was the Natties. So,
okay. All right.
Whoever I find that won that one, I think they'll be happy.
Yeah.
So with that, we are going to call it a night, and we will see you guys next week for another opening